Hi and welcome to this Gemini inspired reading for July 2025. Of course, you can use this reading anytime you find it, if it resonates with you. So I am working with the symbolism of the tarot cards and the symbolism of Western astrology to look deeper into layers of consciousness, to find more perspectives, new perspectives, to find some inspiration. I am not a fortune teller. I merely work with the card as a creative tool of self-reflection. Let me assist you. All right, let's see, Gemini, inspired people or connected to the symbolism. What is going on? Ooh, the love card is already here. I love to see that. Okay, first part of the reading, general energy. Second part of the reading, a relationship dynamic. Seven of Cups. Ooh, this is an interesting card to talk about. We have Venus in Scorpio, and that's the interesting, deep, dark, transformative stuff. But at the same time, it is a little bit of a slippery slope when we have the Seven of Cups here. It is called debauch. Never know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. And we really have to be careful, and I don't like to use that word so much all the time, but with the Seven of Cups we might be a little stuck in the mud when it comes to our emotional life. We might also be a little induced by substances or by a high or an over intensity of emotions that keeps us stuck in the mud a little bit. So this is kind of a card of hedonism, a card of also overdoing things, of illusions. In the Crowley deck especially, it's a card also of delirious states of the system through drugs. He really specifically says that, so we want to make sure that we are not overusing substances, but it can also of course be just something that is going on in our mind, in our system, where we just like go a little too far into an emotional illusion, and that's why it's often also referred to a card of confusion, of course, because we don't have much clarity here. But this is also of course where it gets interesting often, and that's why we have Venus in Scorpio, because there we can also find a lot of interesting, I want to say, I don't think we find answers there, but we find experiences that might kind of make us the person that we are. So if we go into these gray zones or into these danger zones of emotional experiencing, we might of course take things out of it as well that can in the future or in the next steps also give us some answers. But yeah, this is intense, this is emotional intensity, and we want to make sure that we are not getting stuck there. It's not so much about being there, it's more like the danger is being stuck in this thing. But yeah, if we want to have a little bit of a hedonistic time, I wouldn't be surprised if Gemini is like, let's have some fun. But yeah, beware to not get stuck. Okay, two cards. Well. This is kind of interesting. We have a Devil and the Ten of Swords here. So we might really want to try to work ourselves out of things that control us and learn better how to handle certain emotional states so we don't get stuck in it. We don't want to get addicted to something, we don't want to get controlled by something, but we might still sometimes want to go to that place that just feels a little overboard and hedonistic. And I think this is it's a switch to the positive, weirdly enough. And with Venus, we still have, with Venus and Scorpion here, we still have that sign of beauty. So this is still supposed to be a beautiful experience. This is still supposed to be about love, about beauty, about all the good things that we also can enjoy here. But we also need to know that we don't want to get stuck there at the same time. Here with the Devil and the Ten of Swords, I think that is exactly the little fine line that we're trying to figure out right now. What is getting me completely trapped, because that would be the devil, and what is kind of like the illusion that I can still step out of, which is the Seven of Cups. And I think this is what's going on here. We're trying to handle, and this is mastery. This is like kind of impossible, but it seems like this is what's going on here, that we are mastering some sort of addictive pattern, that we're really done with it, because with the Ten of Swords, it's saying, okay, we're done with it. And we are now seeing the beauty in the high, and understanding that it's also a momentary thing and it's not something that should control us. So wow, okay, whew. All right, that is some intense S-H-I-T. S-H-I-T. Okay, so now I'm very, very, very curious about where we are moving into with this. Ooh. It is very, very impressive, Gemini. We are moving into the adjustment card, and this is a very mental way of balancing out things. Yes, we need that. Yes, we need to really be able to step back into the middle ground when we feel like the scales are tipping over. And it seems like you're doing that very, very impressive balancing act right now, especially in your mind. It is a balancing act, and that's what the adjustment card is really about. This could also be about relationships, of course, because the adjustment card and the justice card is about relationships. But at the same time, I think it's more about like going really back to center and out of these over tipping scales. This card is, of course, also represented by Libra. And this seems like a very artful balancing act right now, a little bit of a balancing out dance. And as we can see, she's this clown-like figure. She's standing on her tippy toes like a ballet dancer, and she's also referred to as a dancer often. And she's just very skilled in having these scales tip back into center or into a more balanced other direction. So wow, okay, yeah, this is some intense artful stuff. It's an intense way of living. It's like, can I go very, very far over there and then woof, make that turn, you know? It's like a dance. I always refer to the adjustment card as a dancer, because she really knows how to balance herself out and actually look really, really good while doing so. So, very interesting. This also has to do with doing the right thing. Of course, the Three of Wands is here on the bottom of the deck, so we might gain a little more control over the moment here with our actions. Wands always speak about actions. Also, our kind of survival mechanism drives us into a safer place and drives us into making decisions that are a little more about doing the right thing and not just the fun thing. Because the devil, don't get me wrong, the devil can be fun, you know, but we also know that the danger of the fun is sometimes somewhat destructive, and we don't want that. So yeah, all right, alrighty, intense. So let's see. Every time I say alrighty, I think of Sex and the City. I don't know about you, but that's just what I think about. Let's look at relationships. This is not necessarily a romantic relationship, but of course can be about romantic love. So let's see what wants to show up. This other energy, is falling on the floor. What did you do? Somebody might be very hidden with their agenda, or very it might feel kind of distant with the Seven of Pentacles. Somebody is like, I'm not going to show this person maybe, but I will just take things easy and slowly and look very, very closely at what's happening and kind of not really act too much right now. This is pausing, this is reflecting on the results we have, especially in relationships where we are not moving very fast. It could be that it's a person very distant from you, also reflecting on a relationship. For example, somebody you haven't seen in a long time, or you had a falling out, or you know, you had a breakup with. It could be somebody like also looking at why a situation has to be like that or had to be like that. They might not show that, they might not really be transparent about it, they might even be in a distance where you don't even see them, but maybe it's a person you're thinking about. But yes, there is somebody definitely reflecting and wondering. I mean, definitely, it could speak of a person reflecting and wondering why results are the way they are, and therefore being really careful about the next steps. Four of Swords. Yeah, I feel like this is a distance situation. This really can speak of a very distant situation right now where both parties retreated to really make sure they understand what is going on, to maybe have a little bit of a clearer mind. For you, for sure, it's about a clearer mind and also taking a break. This is a card of truce. It's a card of rest from strife. We don't want to go into conflict. We want to maybe just meditate and let our mind calm down, let the muddy waters get clear, and find answers within us through rest, through being drawn back, through maybe even isolation. But this is in general a card of resting, of meditation, of being a little withdrawn, just to figure out your own mental space a little better. And it might really have to do with, of course, toxic dynamics that just get too intense with the devil here. So we're kind of like, I cannot do this anymore. I kind of need to retreat because this is not healthy, or this doesn't feel good, or this does not really make any sense and is not very, very constructive. So what does the connecting card say, or the mirroring card? Five of Wands. Well, yeah, this is the challenge here. It's very interesting. We have this card, Rest from Strife, Four of Swords, and the Five of Swords is called Strife, even though it's a fire card, a Wands card, and the other one is a air card, a swords card. But yes, this is really figuring out how to handle conflict. I think this is what we all often see, you know, social media, all types of psychologists talking about how to resolve conflict with a person, how to really see conflict as something that can be quite connecting when we are able to find tools and ways to resolve conflict. And this is the type of card in relationships where you're like, okay, where is the healthy conflict? Where can we really maybe want different things but still work through that, and how can we come out the other side? I think this is right now not yet the time, and sometimes it's also important to retreat, to draw back your energy, to really figure out where you stand, to really make sure you have a clear assessment of the situation as well, which would be the Adjustment card. And get out of some illusionary thinking also. This could very much be illusionary thinking when it comes to another person, of course. It might not be what you think just yet, or what you feel just yet, because this can be quite deceptive, this card. This card wants to, it's about illusions. So we might feel things that are not even there. What's much more important right now is really come back to a more stable place with our emotions, which would be the Four of Cups, and that makes a lot of sense with the Blended Pleasure card, where we are really talking about also retreating, also coming back to our very stable sense of self when it comes to our emotions, so we can actually explore our emotions and explore our thoughts and explore our system of what this experience actually did with us, so we can get into a little bit of a clearer mindset. But this is a very complex, very complicated reading, I feel like, when it comes to relationships and all the challenges that it brings, because we do have the big ones here when it comes to relationships. The devil, of course, who can be very binding and very controlling, and the adjustment card, who is like trying to be fair when it comes to one-on-one relationships. And we have a lot of Libra cards here as well. So wow, yeah, this is a big, very colorful picture of all the different stations or difficulties when it comes to conflict and conflict resolution in relationships. And right now it's really about doing the right thing, I think, very much so with these 3 of Wands. So let's see what the oracle cards also want to add. Very cool, very cool. I like it. Complex, of course, for Gemini. I am not surprised. Versatility, I love that. The Sun in Gemini. Look, I am the art of tarot for a reason, you guys. The Sun in Gemini wants to come out here in the end of the reading, and I think the beautiful thing here is that even if we feel, I mean, I want to say head over heels, but this is heels over head. Even if we feel like completely upside down and things feel completely out of the norm and out of the box and completely different from what we are used to, we are managing to handle that situation still with grace and with some artistry. So even if it's the weirdest effing thing, you know, you can do in relationships, it seems like we're still skilled enough here to do it. I mean, he's walking on his hands, he's having his legs over his head. It's just artistry. It's a very artistic way to move in a very tough and intense way, and we have to be very strong, very skilled on many levels to be able to walk a situation like that. And that is Gemini. Gemini just has so many layers and facets and ideas and can go to all the extremes and is constantly in movement and is still balancing it out somehow and is at the same time completely upside down. So yes, this is a very fascinating card coming out in the end, because this is all about learning through relationships and through mirroring. And that is what Gemini is all about. So this makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of a little surprised that in this card there is no other person, because also Gemini is often about learning through a mirror or through the outside. But it is what it is. Beautiful ending to this reading. Thank you so much for being here. Please check out my description box. Please like, subscribe and comment, and please come back next time, and I hope I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.